we get lots of questions from viewers and readers and so on regarding headlights or lights in general on cars. Headlights seem to be the most common because people say, well, my headlights are dim. Can I put in some kind of aftermarket bulb to make them brighter and so on? Well, maybe, maybe not. The first thing that you have to do when you're dealing with headlights is look at the lamps themselves. See, headlights, the plastic on them gets damaged by ultraviolet light from the sun. And over time, they get cloudy and discolored like this. Now, they always want to be clean and clear and very, very bright. Now, over here, when this gets like this, what happens is, if you were to look at this under a microscope, you'd see that this discoloration is actually really fine cracks in the plastic itself. Now, those cracks, as the light comes through the plastic, those cracks diffuse the light so that it spreads out in all directions instead of being focused ahead of the car. So that's the first thing you have to do. The headlights have to be clear and clean. Now, you may be able to clean them, and you may have to replace them. If you have to replace them, remember that there are some good aftermarket sources for headlights that are just like the originals, but a whole lot cheaper. Now, once you've done that, once your headlights themselves are in good condition, what about brighter bulbs? Well, there's two ways to go here. One is with an illegal bulb. You see, all bulbs that are legal for use on the highway have the same wattage. So the only thing you're going to be able to do is change color, not the actual amount of light coming out of them. Well, if you want to go the illegal route, remember that the first time the policeman coming at you gets burned retinas from your off-road lights, you're probably going to get a ticket. So consider that before you go too far. The other thing is that when you go to higher wattage in the bulbs, they draw more current, more electricity, and you may find that over time it damages the wiring in the car, the wire connectors. They'll overheat because of the extra current flow and things like that. So take that into consideration. Once you have decided what you want to do, if you want to use legal bulbs, well, you have a number of different ways to go about it. There are different brands of whiter bulbs. Here we have a couple of examples. Now, these whiter bulbs, they cost more than the conventional bulbs, and although they don't produce any more light, the light is much whiter, much more like daylight. So you can actually see a lot more detail. A lot of people like them. The problem with them is that in many cases, their life expectancy isn't quite as good as a conventional bulb. But it's one way to get more usable light, not more light itself, but more usable light on the road ahead of you. A lot of people like them. Now, if you really want to go to the extreme over here, we have HID. These are high intensity discharge. They're xenon, and you can buy these in kits, but you want to buy a good one. You don't want the 1995 HID kit that is all over the internet, because most of them don't last at all. Now, the difference here is these work similar to a fluorescent light, in as much as they have transformers that alter the current and produce the power for the lamps themselves. These, from inside the car, very white, very bright, still the same amount of light if they're legal, but they make the visibility a lot better for a lot of drivers. So something that you might want to consider. But the other thing is that if you buy a good set, these are expensive, but they're worth the money if you like that type of light. All right, so now keep in mind that all of this is rapidly becoming obsolete. Newer cars don't have incandescent bulbs like these. They don't have HID, they now have LED, light emitting diodes. These are standard equipment or optional on a lot of the newer cars. And we're seeing some kits where you can retrofit some of the cars with LEDs. And it's a very, very good, clean light. All right, so much for headlights. What about the small bulbs in the car? Here we have some of the small bulbs that are in common use today. The big problem with these is you go into the parts store and they got all these bulbs, and like here we have these 3 bulbs that all look the same on the base. They'll all interchange, but you put it in and either they don't work, or if you have a lamp monitor on the car, if you got the wrong bulb, what'll happen is it'll turn on the lamp monitor and the lamp monitor will tell you that your bulb is not working. Now what that means is really a simple thing. You put in a new bulb, you know it's a new bulb, you presume it's a good bulb even though it's the wrong one, and you turn on the key, the lamp monitor comes on telling you that the same bulb is bad. So then you start thinking about, well, how do I diagnose this? Well, it must be the monitor. So you put a new module for the lamp monitor in, and still the same thing, and then you dig into switches and all these other things, and you never give it a thought that it might simply be the wrong bulb. Hey, it fit. Well, just because something fits on a modern automobile doesn't mean that it works or that it works properly. So you have to be really careful. Look at the number that is required by your car. And although it's hard to see sometimes, there is a number stamped onto the bulb. And you take a magnifying glass, if need be, look at that number, make sure it matches the number that is required. That way you're not going to have all these goofy things going on with lamp monitors or with turn signals that flash too fast or too slow and stuff like that. In some cases, it can even have an effect on things like cruise control and so on, because the cruise control is tied into the brake lights and different things like that. So, like I say, just because they fit, like here, doesn't mean they're going to work. And if you have a question or comment, drop me a line right here at radio@goss-garage.com.